Why was Cretoxyrhina called the Ginsu Shark of the Cretaceous, late Cretaceous period? Below the surface, a shadow emerged, not a standard hunter, but a nightmare of engineering. It moved with a rhythm that defied the chaos of the reef, observing, waiting. It wasn't hunting for survival. It was hunting for a kill that required perfection. The strike was silent, precise, and absolute. A surgical incision into armor, executed with a biological blade. Then it vanished, leaving only the echo of a predator that shouldn't exist. The ocean's king felt the shift, but found nothing but cold, empty currents. It was being watched, and it didn't even know it. The sea began to pulse with a low-frequency hum. The storm was no longer just above. Ghostly, it drifted through the fallout of a world turning against itself. The giant lashed out, but struck only shadows. Deep within the trench, the scars told a story of a predator that had seen the end before. It emerged into the light, a silhouette of calculated, ancient intent. Even the smaller hunters knew to scatter. It navigated the labyrinth like a ghost through the halls of history.
Welcome to Part 2, The Anatomy of Terror.
Something wasn't right. A glint of history lay discarded on the floor. But it didn't care for the past. It was locked onto a future of violence. The vastness of the sea was trembling. This was not a cold-blooded scavenger. This was a high-performance, biological engine. Teeth built to shear, not to crush, a designer's weapon of terror. It saw everything, and it calculated the distance to the final heartbeat. No ripples, no sound, only the inevitable approach. The strike was so fast, the prey never even knew it was over. Even in the murk, it found its prize. But then, a shift in the current, a scent of rivals. The hunter became the hunted, its speed now a desperate trade for life. A titan followed, larger, stronger, and closing the gap. It dove into the vents. The heat was a choice between survival and searing agony. In the amber glow, it was no longer a shark. It was a phantom. The rival watched, but the predator was already gone. Mapping the impossible, calculating the way out. It pushed through the rock, emerging into a kingdom of bioluminescent ghosts. It passed the creatures of the deep like they were nothing more than dust. The shelf was ending. The true abyss was calling. Against the rising sun, it stood as a monument to a dying era. The earth groaned. The final act was beginning. It waited for the world or for the end. The sea was losing its balance. Gravity itself felt like a threat. The seafloor collapsed, a mountain of rock falling into the abyss.
Keep your distance.
I know.
It danced
Just
through
sharing.
the debris,
Watch
a
your
masterpiece of fluid
You too.
evasion.
Fine.
Blind, surrounded, and running out of time. Then, an act of mercy, or perhaps an act of strategy. Two silhouettes, moving as one to survive the collapse. It forced the weaker one through, shielding its life with its own. A heartbeat away from being crushed into legend. In the lagoon, they breathed, but they were trapped. The walls were high, and the exit was a gamble against the tide. It taught the young to hunt, sharing the burden of starvation. A bond born not of instinct, but of desperate, shared survival. Outside, the world was tearing itself apart. A sliver of
echoes
hope,
from the surface.
a break in the
A
chaos.
pressure wave from a volcanic eruption slams the shark into a rock wall.
They swam, side by side, through the eye of the storm. Avoiding the ghosts of a broken, drowning forest. It pulled its companion from the brink of the surf, a final, protective act. They reached the deep, but the water was freezing. The world was cooling. Into the dark, together, towards the final unknown. The sky had fallen into the sea, choking ash, the harbinger of death. Sensory overload, the predator was lost in the haze. The environment was now a scavenger, consuming the giants one by one. Its own home was burning with invisible chemical fire. It slowed its heart, the earth screamed, becoming a statue of volcanic flesh in the cold, crushing everything in its path. Alone, the companion was gone. The era was over. It drifted through a tomb of its own ancestors. It wandered, aimless, its path dictated by the debris of a dead world. A meeting of shadows to survivors who had forgotten how to fight. The descent to the final sanctuary. Deeper than life, where the pressure becomes a weight of eternity.
A volcanic eruption slams the shark into a rock wall.
The skeleton of its kind, waiting in the dark. A vibration, a pulse, life in the graveyard. A sunken spire, glowing with the last light of a forgotten reef. A dance of ghosts, moving in the silence of the abyss. It rested, safe, but forever buried in the deep. A flickering star in the void, holding on to a memory of the sun. It is just a tooth now, but in the silence, you can almost hear it bite.